and welcome back to the Coaches Hour. Who actually knows what episode we're on right now? We've recorded 1 million, so if you haven't listened, go back through the library. So today, we're on episode, we'll say 134. It's not 134, ignore me. But in today's episode, we're going to be going through a hot seat with myself, asking the questions, Jewade, and my co-host, Him. I always go to say your name, Jim, with him, just because that's what I know now.
First name's Jim.
Yeah, second name's Him. Last name, Him. So that's the first fact, fun fact. But my co-host, Him. So we're going to have a little bit of a hot seat because I think it's really important that our audience, we've got an audience now, our audience get to know who we are outside of the industry as well as who we are inside the industry as well. So today's episode is going to be a little bit more information about him. So for the first question, where shall we start? We'll go back to the very beginning. We'll go back to early beginnings, we'll say. So if we look to the beginning, we've mentioned this a little bit in a previous episode, but just in case anyone hasn't watched it, they should do. But just in case anyone hasn't, let's go back to kind of your early start in fitness or even pre-fitness. So what's your earliest point at which you want to go back to?
I guess the best place to start is like, why did I start training in the first place, right? I think for me, it was always like all guys, right? We start because we want to get girls, right? That's definitely why I started. And at the same time, it was I remember that was the age around 17 was the age where you start going to college. You start wearing your own clothes, right? Because before we have to wear uniform, right? And when you wear your own clothes, you're buying your own clothes. And I was wearing like a small t-shirt. I still remember, I don't know if you remember, but in JD Sports, they used to do like free t-shirts for like £10.
Yeah.
I remember buying it and it was like a small size and I'd wear it. And you see this seam here? This was like down here, but I was wearing oversized before it was oversized, But it was wearing me, and it was a small size. And that for me, I was like, nah, I don't like that. And then when I was playing sport, you never quite making it for the school's football team, to represent the school, and then getting like kind of moved away from the ball when you're playing football. And I was like, I can't. And I was short as well. I'm not that I'm so tall now, but. At least I'm wider, right?
kind of evens out a little bit.
I can't change the height, but I can change how wide I am.
So how old were you roughly at this time, like when you were in JD? Because I think they still do the 3 for 20. So
do they? Or 3 for 20 now? Jesus.
Well, probably 30 maybe. I don't even know, but whatever. There's still. Cause I went in there recently and I've seen like there's got offers.
No
so
way.
How old were you roughly with this?
I would say 16, 17. Yeah, 16 when I started buying clothes, right, and then turning into 17. That was the start, and that was when I started training.
So that was when you started training, and then what was your first training, like what did your first training program look like?
Oh, my training program was sick, man. It was bench press every day. chest day. It was, have to go in on a bench. And I remember, so this is the funny thing, right? When I was training, there was, in the old school bodybuilding gym that I was training at, I don't know why we picked this, by the way. I was training with a friend. We managed to pick this. And there was 2 sets of dumbbells. There's one set which was kind of like, they had the Avanco, the plate, like the ones in zone, right? But the real old ones, black. And they had one set that was over here, which was like, I guess it was, I don't know, £5 to £25. And they had these big monster ones. At the time, it looked monstrous, right? And I was like, shit, I need to get to that. All the big guys are doing that. So that was my goal was always like, I need to get to a stage where I can lift that. Or on the bench press, it was, I need to get to a stage where I'm lifting these the 20s because at the time when there were no bumpers, it was all metal plates. The 10s were like how the 5s are now, right? So it was small. So you got like 40 kilos, and it's like, oh man, this looks really shit. And then you see the big guys going like hundreds, right? So for me, it was always like the strength game was always big. I think at the time, now, like if I look back at how people train now, it's always people look at themselves in the mirror more. I see the kids training in the gyms, and they're like, oh, I want to look a certain way. But then when I trained, I don't know why, I aspired to the people. Like you see Arnold, you see Dorian on the window, you're like, that looks cool, man. I want to be there one day. But then the training was always the thing that I went for. I don't know why.
So, because with that, so like you started wanting to look different or look better.
Yes.
get girls kind of thing, as all young guys, well, most young guys do. And then when you actually got there, it was more performance.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
It was strange, but I don't really know why that was the case.
So is that when you went into like powerlifting per se, or was
it
that
wasn't
further
actually.
on?
It was always like, that was my start. And then actually, because of university, we had to do like this work placement. So when I was at the gym, I was like, shit, man, I need to find some work placement. And there was a guy in the gym, he was like, oh, there's a gym down the road called Genesis, right? They're always taking people. So I went there and I did a work placement there. And because that gym, Genesis, is a powerlifting gym, and the owner, he runs a powerlifting comps, they were doing all their powerlifting stuff. And the guys were preparing for the British. They had the British team there. And I was like, that looks cool. Let me see if I can do something, like, I'd love to try it. And I tried it. They trialed me out. And they were like, the owner was like, oh, what do you lift? And I said, I don't know.
Weights?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I never tried. First session that we did, I squatted 140. And then he was like, I'll put these on. And they're fucking knee wraps, right? Put these on. Put a belt on. 160. Put these on. Knee wraps. 190. So the first time I squatted properly heavy, I squatted 190. And then they were doing openers, right? So they were practicing the openers, deadlifters. One guy was in a similar weight class to me. He was like, I'll just go train with him. Just do whatever he's doing. And, whatever he pulled, I pulled. I pulled like 212. And I was like, I never pulled anything even beyond 150 that day, so like before.
This was about 19, 20?
This was probably, 19 I was. And then the funny thing is crazy, right? This is the wild thing. Is like, they did the openers. We did a rest week. We were into the British. And I joined the British. I pulled a British record that literally 2 weeks out, I pulled 231 for the British record.
That's what I mean. Your Instagram bio should be published paper, British record. That's it. Work with me.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
So like, because I'm guessing like, clearly naturally gifted to lift heavy weight.
This is what I'm talking about. When you say genetics, this is an example of
peak genetics. This is stereotypical genetic at play here. So you pulled the record like near enough straight away. Did you spend much time learning technique after that and compete more? Or was it like just because me personally, I'd have been like, I'm done now. I'm one and quit. Did you actually spend time doing it?
Yeah, I think because it was like 2 weeks, right? And then I did it and I was like, pum pum. I was like, oh shit, all of a sudden I'm doing this. There was no prep involved. It was just whatever. I used to train myself. Then it was like, okay, they're going to do another competition in October or September. And I was like, okay, well, let me train for that. So I trained with Dave at the gym. I guess you could say he's my first personal trainer, first coach. Went through it and I went from 231 deadlift to 245, and, the rest was history. Like, went to Worlds and just kept competing.
So how long did this powerlifting journey last, roughly? Well, seriously, because you might have like still doing it.
I'd say 5 or 6 years. Yeah.
And at what point did you feel like you were going to go into coaching? Was that linked to powerlifting? Or was that something completely different?
Yeah, it was. So at the time at Genesis, right? So this is funny when we talk about Martin in the last episode, right?
He's going to come in again, isn't he?
It's not.
I was going to say.
Phil Lerney was part of the powerlifting team that was working.
You're just name dropping here, and I'm going to get up and walk out.
So he was working at he was training at Genesis at the time with Dave, and they were doing. He was preparing for the British, and that's kind of how. And that he was working at Third Space then, right? And I remember he was talking to one of the guys about nutrition. Like, I think he was explaining like how to drop weight and things like that. And that was that moment I was listening. I was like, okay, shit, fucking no one's ever explained nutrition in this way ever before. And that's when I was like, I want to do what he's doing. I was obviously following Phil, and he was like, okay, he'd be working in, I think it was Soho, Third Space. He'd riding his Ducati. He'd come back to Genesis. He'd train, and then he'd be like, I've got to go back to train clients. I was like, this is kind of sick, man. I love what he's doing, and I was just interested.
Was it the motorbike soldier?
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't ride a motorbike, but I do like motorbikes.
In my head, he just pulled up, rocking on a wheelie with his leather jacket, like, I'm going to go and train some clients now. Long hair, everything.
That was 2010 was peak Phil Lerney, I'll tell you that now. Like, he was still coaching at the time. And I don't know if he still does it, but he had his own like clothing brand, and he was popular. Like I would say he was there. Like
was it influencing before influencers kind of thing?
Yeah.
So like
for sure.
Yeah.
You know, when the Facebook groups were live and people were like following people from Facebook, he was the man.
Yeah, cool.
And he had his book released.
So he was one of the gateways into coaching. And did you just think, where can I coach, and then just go straight into it, or was it? I
think it was more. I knew I wanted to do personal training, and the rest of then I had to obviously go back to finish my second year and my third year of university, and that's where I met Martin afterwards, and yeah, that was I knew. Like when I finished my degree, I wanted to do personal training.
So go back, just because people might have skipped one of our episodes where you actually met Martin. So who are we talking about when we say Martin?
So when we say Martin, we're talking about Martin McDonald, who runs MNU. He was my lecturer at the University of Derby when I was there.
Cool. And so you've got like Phil Learney that just rocks up at your gym. Yeah. You've got Martin from Mac Nutrition or MNU that teaches you before he actually started or even knew he was going to start MNU. Yeah. So like you've got like a real solid foundation or real solid introduction into the industry before it was in the industry. So like what was the next step from there?
I think from that point, and then at the same time, I met Jordan Peters as well at one of the shows for powerlifting, because Corinne, who is his partner, she was competing in powerlifting at the time. So that was when Jordan he only just started training by JP, and it wasn't necessarily, he was still coaching a lot of the powerlifters. So I was like, okay, I wanted a bit of help and assistance to kind of lose weight as well. So I did a small stint with him. And at the time, it was like a lot of low carb stuff was quite...
Was this online coaching?
Yeah, this was online coaching before online coaching.
How was that delivered? Because like now we've got fancy apps and whatever else. Was it like just PDF?
He had his own... I don't know if OGs remember this, but he had his own website and he set up everything through there.
Oh, that's cool.
Everything just ran through his website. Yeah, he had a login.
Sounds like innovation. Like that's because at the time in my head it was all like Word PDFs, Word documents, etc.
He definitely was the first to do that. And there was like a whole messaging system in there. There was like the check-in form. Yeah.
See, that makes sense why he's like where he is today, because if he's that innovative at that time, then of course when technology improves, he's going to be the first to take advantage of it. That's really cool.
He was a beast, man, like in terms of like delivering, and I think it was a whole part of, and this is why practicing what you preach is so big as well, because, even though certain aspects don't necessarily apply to you as a natural, like, you just look up to the guy, right? And you're like, shit, man, this guy can lift this much. It gives you the thought that I should not necessarily lift that much, but I should have that level of intensity. I should go at it in that similar way. And for many years, that was my, my thought process in terms of doing it.
Cool. So when it comes to like becoming a PT, what was the qualification process like? Was it like 6 weeks and done, or was it a little bit more?
Yeah, so when I was at uni, I think there was a side thing where you could get qualified to be a PT. So they kind of offered it out, right? There's loads of different things that they offer you as extracurricular kind of stuff. So I did it at the same time. And then, so then when I finished university, straight away I was like, okay, looking for jobs, was it Total Jobs or whatever you're looking, and I found this job that it was called Lifestyle Fitness at the time, which is just down the road in Wembley. Now it's called obviously Gym Group, as they all are, and that was my first start in the industry.
Cool. And what were the early days like then? Because how was it set up then? Was it still 12-hour shifts or a little bit different?
Yeah, so you have, and this is what people don't realise, right? And at the time you're like, oh, I've got a job. But personal training is like the only job where, of course, they're going to fucking give you a job. You're paying them. Like, you have to pay rent to be there, right? We had to actually pay rent and do what's called service hours as well. So you'd have to, I think, give back to the gym like 10 hours of your time per week, twice a week, to teach classes, to clean the gym equipment, to, I don't know, walk the gym floor, tidy it up, close the gym, whatever, right? You had to do shifts and you had to pay rent, right?
So, because like, is that similar to what it is now? Because now you get paid for the same thing. So you have like, it's 12 hours a week where you clean.
I think
classes.
It's free now. I think if I'm not mistaken, because I was at gym group before I went to UP, it was you delivered, I think, 10 hours, but or 12 hours or something like that, and there was no rent.
Yeah, so the 10, 12 hours covers your rent.
Basically,
yeah. So when you started, it was a 10, 12 hours plus rent.
Yeah.
Oof, what a time to be alive.
Yeah. That was that gym.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then that's when gym groups started to open up.
Probably why it took over.
Yeah. And why people jumped, because they were like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would I do that? And you could still, I don't know if it's true, but we were doing it. You could still PT on your service hours.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe we just broke the rules. I can't remember.
No, 'cause I remember, like, I think when I was at the gym group, they just clamped that down kind of thing. So service hours were service hours.
Oh, yeah, because you were at the gym group.
Yeah, I went at the gym group. Everyone's been at the gym group.
You got that blue polo, right?
They've changed it now. I'm pretty sure it's black. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
They might have changed it back. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, was that like turquoise?
Yeah, because I've still got pictures in that, like standing like this. So everyone's been through the gym group. If you haven't, then get to the gym group. Like, that's your rite of passage, really, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? You've been
Okay.
cleaning those treadmills, boy.
The sweat stains, it's disgusting. Oh my gosh.
People never did it though, you know. There's always like I actually slugged it. I was actually I'm gonna mop and do this. People didn't clean the equipment.
But do you know what though? I did, and I think you did, and it's standards. Like,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I did used to use the time to speak to as many people as possible, but I would speak to them while cleaning the equipment. Like, I didn't just take the piss, but that's the standard that I had, because
it's worth it.
Exactly. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So I got employee of the month like 3 times just because I did my job. Like, I didn't do anything. I didn't go above and beyond. It was just because when I was on shift, the gym was tidy, but I used to pull members up, like, put your weights back. Like,
did you have to teach spin?
Oh no, not spin. We didn't have a spin area in the one I was in.
I had to teach spin.
Oh no. Ours was like just a little functional area, so it was all like the HIIT classes and whatever else, and that was not too bad until the license agreement changed and we couldn't actually play our own music.
Okay.
But back to your story. So you went to Lifestyle Fitness. Yeah. And then UP after then?
No, so Lifestyle Fitness, and then I jumped to Gym Group. And I didn't really spend much time at Gym Group, probably like a month or 2. And then it was UP. So
what was that whole process like? Like, did you have to interview or?
Yeah, so at the time, actually, I think I was quite lucky, if I'm honest. I put in definitely one attempt in terms of CV, etc., as you did before, and I never heard anything back. And then the second time was somebody actually recommended me to work there, and I went through the whole interview process. The person who recommended me introduced me to the manager that would have been at the gym. Shout out Mike Porter, rest in peace. And yeah, he kind of helped me out in terms of that interview process, as you do, right? You know, I'm sure you help many coaches now, like, to go through an interview process, right? I've definitely helped loads of my clients get new jobs.
Yeah.
You know, at different places that, you know, do interview processes, right? I think it's one of the, if I'm honest, interview processes are one of the best ways to learn.
Yeah, I think just to like interject there as well, because like I'm going to give a shout out to Third Space. Mm-hmm. Like, I've got a few clients that have gone there, and like when they're there, they're probably like, some of them don't no longer work with me because Third Space have their own education stuff, which is cool. But like, I think in terms of progression, they're like very progressive at the moment in terms of helping coaches. Like, if someone is in London and is in their first few years, like Third Space or somewhere like that is a really good place to go, just from the interview process and the support that they give coaches from that. So Third Space did exist when I was there, but it wasn't so big. They only had that Soho branch, I think. They're a lot more. I think because I think the plan is to take over London apparently now.
Because that one that they've got now at Canary Wharf that we do all our RTS at, that was a Reebok gym before. Was it? It's called I just remember Roger Snipes training there. Is it Roger Snipes? Yeah, it was Roger Snipes that was training there. And it was called Reebok Gym before Third Space took over.
Perfect.
So there you go.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm going to say a little bit of
London
like history.
I'm really old now.
I'm not. Well, you've already mentioned my age a little bit. So we're not going to talk about my age. We're going to say you're old now. Yeah. So we went to UP, went through the interview process, and then what was that like? So like, how long were you at UP for, and what was?
I was there for, I'd say 4 years, I think. And the interview process was definitely more intense than anything other thing that I'd done before. I don't think there was anything like it at the time, if I'm honest.
So was it like a sit down interview? Was it parts?
So yeah, definitely phases where, and I think it's more common now, if I'm honest. Like you get a case study, you do the case study, you send it back, and that's kind of like phase 1. And then if they accept you, you go. I can't remember which way it went. If I'm not mistaken, it was the training first. So I had to train one of the staff members that was at UP, take them through a session. And then obviously they'd probably give feedback to whoever. And then you have another interview, which is a sit-down interview where when you've sent back the case study, they kind of roast you. I had, do you know Lucas?
Yeah.
So
Sheehan.
Lucas Sheehan. So he was the one that, and funny enough, I met him at RTS like many years later, like I say 8 years later, 8 years I met him, and I said to him, "Do you remember me?" kind of thing. And he's like, "No, I've no fucking clue." He's like, "Yeah, you interviewed me at UP," and he said, "Was I nice to you?"
And that means he must not have been, because the first question someone asked is, "Was I nice to you?" That's a definite no.
But yeah, do you know, I learned so much from that process. So he's asking me loads of questions, and I was like, "Shit, man, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer it." But I think at the time it was a bit like they saw potential, the willingness to learn. And I think that was a big part of probably me getting the job.
Perfect. And then, so you was at UP, which is like a transformation focused gym, essentially. And I'm going to assume you got loads of transformations there. And you mentioned in a previous episode, which everyone should go and watch if they haven't watched it already. I'm going to keep plugging it because that's probably one of our best yet. So you was at UP, and this was the one in, which branch was this?
This was Singapore, actually.
There we go. So, because you was at the gym group in UK.
Yeah. In Alperton, just down the road.
So just down the road from here.
Yeah.
So we've missed out a little bit. So how do you get from the gym group in Alperton to UP in Singapore? And what was Lucas doing in UP Singapore?
Lucas was in Mayfair.
Mayfair.
So I did all my interviews in Mayfair, and the whole job role was to fly out to Singapore.
Okay, so they recruited for Singapore from Mayfair.
Yeah. But so initially this was what I thought was going to happen, was they're going to take a whole team from...
Take you by yourself.
Pretty much. They were going to take... So they've got the gym manager, right?
God.
The gym manager is in the UK. I've been hired, right? I'm in the UK, and I thought there was going to be more people. Like he was able to pick more people, and they will all go out and open up in... But it didn't happen. It was just me and him.
So just you two just opening the gym?
And the rest of them were all like locals from Singapore. So it was like, I think there was four other people.
What language is over? Like, what's the main language over there?
It's English.
So English is the main language in Singapore. Okay, cool. So at least like there's no language barrier. Like, okay. So you went to Singapore, opened UP.
I'd never been to Singapore before. Prior to that, I just went, okay, UP. I'm gonna work. This is it. I'm gone.
So what was that like? So this is an episode by itself. So what was it like adjusting to a different culture, a different way of life, and going into like one of the most demanding PT roles in the industry?
I think because I was young, I didn't really think much about it. You don't really think too far ahead. I just thought, hey, I'm going to work for UP. I'm going to do some personal training. This is going to be cool. And that's really as far as I kind of thought. And then when you're out there, you're like, oh, shit, I need to actually survive. I need to make some money here. And obviously at the time, we just had a wage, right? And that wage is, like somebody that's come from abroad, ain't enough to sustain you, And I was staying at one of my colleagues' house, Melvin. Shout out Melvin, man. Appreciate you. He let me stay at his place for like ages, and kind of basically helped me put me on my feet really whilst I was out there.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, and pretty much the whole time that I was there, I lived at the gym. It was like do the hours, work real hard and get on commission as soon as possible to make money, right? So
there's that work ethic again, right? There's a common theme with this, I think.
Yeah, and it was, my thing was all just about I need to learn how to do my craft, right? Because that was my biggest problem when I was working at LSF, Lifestyle Fitness, was because after like 2 weeks being there, I just wanted to quit because it was all about marketing, like trying to sell to people. I don't fucking know. I just wanted to train people. That was what I'm good at. I don't fucking know how to speak to people they should just want to train with me. I'm fucking world record holder or whatever, right? That's what I thought. But then it's like this.
And I've got a fucking paper I've got a paper published.
But this lady who is overweight she don't give a fuck that I can deadlift whatever, right? She just said, I want to lose weight. I got diabetes, you know? And yeah, that was pretty much it. I wanted to quit personal training completely. And
so you wanted to quit?
Yeah, because...
So this was before UP?
This is way before UP.
So essentially, like, UP was kind of the make or break point, or was that? I don't want to put words into your mouth.
I would say probably. Like, I don't know how much... If I stayed at Gym Group, I don't know how much longer I would have sustained that, because I just didn't know how to get more clients, and I guess my service was not amazing either.
Yeah, and that, like, because even though we worked at different companies, it's a similar trajectory in terms of, like, spending time learning your craft, because a lot of PTs have the same feeling that you had in terms of leaving the industry or wanting to.
Yeah.
But there's nowhere for them to go. And with the world as it is today, people think business mentors are the first port of call, whereas, like, back then, which is probably a blessing, the first port of call was I'll go and join a company. Even though I'm not going to be paid the best, I will actually learn how to coach people and to get the job done.
Yeah. I think people just don't have that patience and time anymore. Like, everyone rushes. Like, they think this is what I need. I need to make more money, right? Which is fair, but I think sometimes you gotta eat a bit of shit and take the hit, right? And be like, almost like, you know, The Pursuit of Happiness. You know, I always think back of Will Smith. You know, he's struggling for a long time before he can actually succeed.
Shout out Will Smith, man. He slapped Chris Rock. Shout him out.
And I think it's part of that, right? You gotta earn your stripes. You gotta work hard. It isn't gonna be easy, but I guess that's the whole point, right?
Definitely. So we're in Singapore, and then what happens next? Because I know you've travelled a little bit. So.
Yeah. So after Singapore, I kind of like left UP. And the aim was kind of like to open up a gym, actually, whilst I was out there.
So bring it back one sec. Did you open a gym
in Singapore?
In Singapore or Hong Kong?
No. So I was part of like a group of guys that we were gonna open up in Singapore. In the end, you know, there's loads of people involved, right? A few people kind of dropped out. One of my friends dropped out, so I didn't necessarily then invest my money to do it. They still open up the gym. The gym's still running now. You know, cool. So that's great. But yeah, that for me, it was that or I gotta go.
So right? What did you do instead then?
I came back to the UK, and that was another point where I was like, should I carry on doing PT, or should I just jump into a completely different industry? What
would have been the alternative for you?
Actually being a PE teacher. I was going to go and do a PGC and become a PE teacher.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then I ended up getting a job at Raw Fitness, and that was it.
Oh, you went to Raw. You've been everywhere. Like, just, everywhere. Old. Raw. Yeah, that's what I mean. So what was life like at Raw?
They run a different kind of system. So it was.
Is it similar to you? Because from the outside, like not knowing anything about it, just from the outside, it seems very similar to UP in terms of like marketing and type of service that they offer, etc. Is it the same? Or
I mean, the owners used to work at UP.
Okay.
And then they left and opened their own thing. It is similar, but the way they do it is they have different people for different things. So as a trainer, you just train the client. And then there's separate nutritionists who deal with the nutrition.
Yeah.
And at UP, the client is your client. You're responsible for them, right? Good and bad, you know, obviously with the clients, they get to meet more people in the business. So if you leave, I'm sure there's going to be somebody else to pick up the pieces. But yeah, I felt like it was difficult for me to not have conflicting information to the nutritionist, right?
Yeah, because like your best recommendation might differ to the nutritionist, and it's like, who's right?
Well, too many cooks spoil the broth, you know what I mean? And sometimes the nutritionist spends, so their setup was at the time, I don't know if it is now, every 3 weeks they have a check-in or whatever you want to call it, a nutrition thing. And you might be speaking to the client all the time, right? You see them 3 times, 4 times a week, and you're training them. So you know and maybe you're messaging them in between as well. So you kind of know their background a bit more. And then you've got the nutritionist who may not necessarily be communicating with them as often. So it's really hard to create a really personalized nutrition plan for them.
I say for a lot of people, nutrition is the most challenging part as well. So that might be where you want to.
And then they'll be asking you questions, and you're like, I don't know, because I've not seen the nutrition plan. You know?
Yeah. So there's that
so
makes sense.
I don't really know what to say.
Yeah. So how long did you work at Raw then?
I worked there for about a year and a half, I think.
Okay, it's not too bad.
Yeah,
and
not
then
crazy length of time.
After then, you transitioned to.
That was online.
That was all online?
No, then I went into online.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was thinking, Raw, he's talking about meeting clients, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So then online coaching, and then that kind of brings us up to where we are-ish today. But you've kind of transitioned to like mentoring coaches as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
So like what's the split of your, is it just mentoring or just coaching and mentoring coaches now, or do you still do a little bit of Gen Pop? Or?
I still do Gen Pop at the moment. I think initially I was a bit like, okay, maybe I should just get rid of all my kind of Gen Pop clients and just go solely into coaching coaches. But I think there is a degree of, you need to be in it, because the coaching game, it kind of, like, there's some principles that kind of stay the same, but I still feel like to best serve someone, you need to be on your ball with that as well, right? So when I'm looking at business mentors, for example, right, people just go into business mentor, they stop coaching. And it's like, yeah, when you were coaching years ago, it ain't the same game as it is now, bro. So you need to keep up with it. And you need to keep up with the times. And I think that's kind of a big part of why I still coach Gen Pop, is because I need to still make sure that I'm showing the guys that I coach, I can still fucking deliver to the same people that you coach.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. And like, so it's been a really interesting journey you've had throughout the industry as well. And if you were to look back to like the very first, not gym session, like the very first job, we'll say, what would you tell yourself then, like knowing what you know now? Because you said there's a few times as well where you thought like, is this really for me?
Yeah.
Having been through all the stuff, what would you tell yourself back then?
I think is to keep going, and the mindset that you have is good. So a lot of it is, I want to help clients get results. It's always like client focused, right? I want to help you to get the results. I want you to have a transformation that represents me as well, in terms of, and I get value from that too, selfishly, you know, but you also, I like to see you happy and you achieve what you want to achieve as well, right? So when you have, I think when you go in it with at that kind of position, you're never going to fail, because that's the goal, right? You're not doing it for any ulterior motive. Yes, money is going to be part of it, right? But you're doing it because you actually genuinely want to help people, and everything that you learn is geared to, it's not about being right. I'm not learning RTS so I can go on Instagram and go, hey, I am smart, listen to me. This is what I've discovered. This is what I think I can deliver to you, and I can help you out in that way. And I think as long as you're staying true to that, and that's your sole goal, man, you're gonna be all right in this industry.
Cool, man. And then just to wrap up, because we spoke about your past, what you would tell your younger self. So what's next for Gym with Him or Him?
I think it's continuing the same thing as what I've been doing. I think everyone always talks about scaling and doing this and doing that. I think the thing that I really enjoy the most is working with clients, working with people. So that's something that I'm just going to continue doing. Some people might say, no, you should scale. You should have a success coach. But I just want to work with people. Like, that's what I'm good at. That's what I've been doing for the whole time. That's what's worked for me. So I'm going to fucking carry on doing that, right?
Perfect, man. Yeah, I think it's really good to get to know the him behind the gym. That's coined. I'm taking that. Yeah, that's going to be the next shirt. So I think it's really cool to get to know a little bit like about your background as well, because that's some stuff that I didn't know, and like it gives me a different perspective, and I'm sure anyone that's listening or watching, it gives them a different perspective as well. So thank you for sharing that with us. And again, if you want to go and follow him, it's Gym with Him on social media, Instagram, and for myself, it's Jewade Graham Coach. not ink. So really looking forward to kind of recording another few episodes, but that was a really good insight into your journey, man. Thank you for sharing with us. We'll see you in the next one.
It's goodbye for me.
And see you later, man.